Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today. You should have a PowerPoint presentation in front of you that says moderate sedation, same thing as conscious sedation. We're going to go over some information, and I've focused on two specialties here. We call it multi-specialty, but I'll show some sideline and some comments on other specialties such as orthopedics, and we'll get into some derm. And so just so you know, we do cover quite a few of the specialties as we're looking at it. It's going to cross over quite a bit the same way as far as the rules. We just wanted to give you a few specialties so you can see exactly what they're looking at and what you might be looking at as far as language, compliance, and making sure you can bill for the services. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to moderate conscious sedation right now. And can you bill for it? It's a brand new service in 2017. So we just want to make sure that if you are going to bill for it, that you are compliant and that you're not going to get any kind of a red flag for an audit. So we're going to look at the billable services. It's going to relate to GI, some of the different cardio specialties, what can be coded as far as, when does your doctor use moderate conscious sedation, and what is the difference as far as place of service. I know, for example, in cardiology, all anybody talked about was, when we do cardiac cath, and they said, well, don't forget, your physicians also do transesophageal echoes, so we've got TEEs, EP studies, so in the electrophysiology department. When it comes to GI, we're doing upper and lower GI endoscopy services. In orthopedic, you've got some minor procedures that they may use sedation for when it comes to fractures. Derm, there's some of the excisional services that they provide from the integumentary, the skin system. You're going to see it as well. So we just want to make sure we know when it's okay to code, look for some language and compliance in the reports, and then also kind of talk and discuss the fee schedule impact of moderate sedation and why it's even a discussion, why it's even something that we have to talk about. One of the things that had come up, and just so you're aware before I get into the guidelines and the coding, moderate sedation symbol, which was a shaded triangle on almost, I think they said almost 250 codes within the CPT book, basically said that, moderate sedation services, so the value of the code was removed from certain CPT codes, a lot of diagnostics, and it came to about between 2 and 4% of the total value of that code, and so anywhere between $6 and $24 is the highest I've seen. Value was taken out of certain procedure codes, and so that came with a shaded triangle, meaning that it was a revised code. So they took off the symbol, it was a bullseye symbol, and they actually took that symbol out of CPT altogether. So then what came out is that new codes for the use for coding for moderate sedation. The problem that's arisen is that there are issues when it comes to what's inclusive of those services, whose employee are we using to bill for those services, and what is the physician's responsibility when it comes to documentation of those services. So this is where there's some gray areas that we have to just make sure we cover, and so it's a little bit more clear for you, and understanding what is the actual time frame, because I get everything from total time of the case to inter-service time, to time of sedation. You have to know what time you can actually use for this time-based code. There's also some controversy out there with a lot of physicians, and as a practice manager myself, looking at all these practices that are saying, well, my doctor's saying this, and he or she says that's enough. I'm like, well, the physician may say that's enough, but if you are audited, from what I'm finding, especially as an auditor myself, I'm finding that the payers are saying that's not enough. Remember, if it's not documented, it's not done, and it's a time-based code that you're trying to get paid for your own services, you have to know what you have to be within your documentation before you start referring to other documentation. So hopefully we'll be able to give you that information, and you'll be a little bit more apprised of what you need to do.
Yeah, they're talking.
So starting on slide 3, and Harry, please make sure lines are muted. I'm hearing some background noise. Revised guidelines include, so defines moderate conscious sedation. We look at independent trained observer, what that actually means. Defines work within moderate sedation. We've got 3 separate and distinct sections. You've got pre-service work, inter-service work, and post-service work. So the pre-service work, this is inclusive, meaning it's part of the code that your doctor is responsible for, but it's not a separately billable service, and you can't use the time of completing or attention to that pre-service work as part of your code, but it still must be completed. Inter-service work, that's the time that's billable. So make sure you pay attention to that time, not the whole time of the case when we're talking about billed services. And then post-service work, and then we'll talk about some of the add-on codes and why some of them are not recognized, is because, again, this is inclusive, not separately billable, but must be completed to be compliant as part of the code. So code selection is based only on inter-service, continuous face-to-face time with the physician. And so, not the entire time of the case, if you will. So we're going to talk about that. So according to the ASA, which is the Moderate Sedation